Good evening, respected members. Today being a study circle, we have here with us CA Ravi Kant Ji. And on behalf of Bangalore branch of SCRC of ICI, I would like to welcome him on the dais. I request the CA Jatin Bhatt sir to please escort him with a floral bouquet as a token of appreciation from Bangalore branch. And I request to present that moment also. Thank you very much. I would like to take this opportunity to introduce him. Ravi Kant sir is a technical director on the area of risk. Consulting his brief overview is like this. Ravi sir has been a part of KPMG for the past 7 years and has more than 12 years of post-qualified experiences in the audit and risk consulting across IT and ITs of manufacturing, retails and pharma and medical sectors. He has worked on various solutions, COSO, that is COSO, 2013 framework and SOX frameworks, implementation and testing, process supports for P2P, tools implementation, internal audits, SOP, developments, review, internal audit functions, IFC, implementations and process reviews. He has handled the multiple engagements for the clients of US and reviewed on process of audits, legal compliances and so on. He in his process audits primarily covers areas such as opportunities to order to cash, hire to retire and payroll, supply chain management, fixed assets management, inventory management, compliances reviews, treasury, CSAT, that is the area, and manufacturing, accounting and finance. The key contribution in SAP of Arabia is managed audit, tax audits and SOX testings for the clients, such as the companies such as Wipro and Technicolor and Dr. Reddy Laboratories and General Electrics. He has handled SOP development engagements for the areas such as opportunity to orders, sourcing and procurement, finance and accounts, sales and marketing, revenue, HR and payroll, and fixed assets and planning and budgeting also. The key client covered by him was Wipro Limited, Dr. Reddy Laboratories, Emphasis Limited, Wipro Limited, EYRY India Limited, and Samsung R&D. So many such companies like Keystone Automobiles Operations, General Electrics, Technicolor India, Kirloskar Electric Companies Limited, EO Smith India, Water Products Private Limited, and Algeran, that is India Private Limited. With this, I would like to request him to proceed on the subject matter of the effective system of internal controls. Over to Sir Ravi Kant Ji, please.
Everyone to this session of COSO 2013 and effective system of internal control. I have rearranged the sequence so now it is COSO 2013, where you will see what exactly is COSO 2013. How does it impact us as professionals? What can we do in this area to leverage and to give value addition to our client? And then how exactly it defines effective system of internal control. This is about me, which we just had discussion on, so I'll skip this part. This is the agenda for today. We'll be having a brief on the background of COSO, Then we look at the enhancements. When I say enhancements, I will be referring to the differences between the erstwhile COSO 1992 framework and the new 2013 framework. Then we will look at the COSO cube. What exactly is the COSO cube? Then we look at the components which are there in the COSO cube. Post that, we look at the effective system of internal control. What is an effective system of internal control? And then limitation of internal controls. So I'm guessing by end of today's session, you should be able to understand, among other things, why an internal auditor, why the board actors, why the company can have only reasonable assurance on internal control and not absolute assurance. Any questions on this? Fine, let's proceed. Let's start with the background. Before we look into the background, what is the relevance of COSO in internal control? Let's talk about that. We all have faced internal control testing, IFC testing, SOX testing at some point of time in our career. But why we are talking about COSO now? We are talking about COSO because COSO provides how the internal controls should be structured in an entity, whatever be the industry, whatever be the country. If you Google, you'll find that COSO is the most favored internal control framework across the globe. Most preferred. You can hear about COCO, you can hear about category committee, and there are so many frameworks which are there around the globe. But this is the single most favored internal control framework. It tells you what should be present in a company in terms of internal control. It tells you how you should look at internal control, how you should look at risk, and above all, how you should manage your company's objectives. So with this, let's look at the background. The full form of COSO is Committee of Sponsoring Organization of the Trade Rate Commission, or COSO. And it's a body which has 5 professional bodies. I will not get into those 5 bodies. So it's driven by 5 professional bodies, and they provide guidance on enterprise risk management, internal controls, and fraud deterrence. And today we will be discussing the second part, the internal control. The framework gives you the understanding or requirement on design, implementation, and assessing the effectiveness of the control which you have faced. Now, can someone make a guess whether this is something which is mandatory, this is applicable as per law, or this is recommendatory? Anyone? You're right. Since COSO is not a regulator, so it's recommended, it's not mandatory. You have other frameworks which you can prefer, which you can use. Okay, always remember this. This is not mandatory. It's the most recommended or preferred framework. Now let's look at the enhancements or the additions which are there from 1992 framework to 2013 framework. I have categorized these enhancements in 8 broad categories. The first one is principle-based approach. Instead of giving very vague guidance, this framework has given you 17 pointers. These are 17 principles spread across different components, which you have to comply with. And why you have to comply? So that you can have effective internal control system, which is our ultimate objective of today's discussion. Components, principles will lead you to effectiveness of internal control. These are the principles and the components which I am talking about. You have 5 components: control environment, risk assessment, control activities, information communication, and monitoring. Don't worry, I will discuss each and every component in detail. We have slides on that. And then we have 17 principles, starting from demonstrates commitment to integrity and ethics to evaluation. And if you read this more and more, you will realize that this is nothing but a waterfall model, a circular model. So you have your company's existing internal control framework, how the leadership is behaving, what exactly are they driving. Then you do risk assessment. When I say risk assessment, you analyze the external factors, the internal factors, the risk due to technology, the risk due to your socio-political environment, your IT application, changes in IT, changes in accounting standards. How exactly the company is capturing the risk, analyzing the risk, and then putting remediation steps to those. That's what is captured in risk assessment. Once we do the risk assessment, we have a list of actionables which helps us manage the risk. Those actionables are part of your policies and procedures, which results in internal controls. Then we implement those internal controls in the right spirit so that we address the risk and meet the objectives. Now, for internal controls to be effective, we need to have information, relevant, complete, accurate, and timely capturing of information is important. That's why it's captured in information and communication. If you don't have correct information, if you don't have relevant information, you can do control testing, you can exercise the control, but the control will not give you the desired result. You will fail to achieve the objectives. So information and communication is very important. And today's world, we have social media. One mistake from the company and it spreads like wildfire. Company can't ignore information. And above all, whatever risk assessment you have done, whatever controls you have implemented, whatever information communication you have received and sent, how exactly are they addressing the risk and how exactly are you achieving the objective of the company? That's what we do in monitoring. You assess the controls. You see whether you have deficiencies or not. We have slides on deficiency also, where we will understand what exactly is control deficiency and major deficiency. So this is the place where you do control testing, analyze the results, and then you conclude whether you need to improve, change, or let go of certain controls or not. And those act as feedback for the control environment. And so the cycle continues. Like I said, this is like a waterfall model. Let's look at the second enhancement. Now, when we talk about reporting, we always say it's financial reporting, that's it. Balance sheet, P&L, my shareholders' equity, cash flow, most of it, that's it. No. This is where COSO has expanded the horizon. It's not about just financial reporting anymore, and that will extend financial reporting. Look at the slide here. I should have put it in a table, but I thought this will look good. So if you see, you have external and internal reporting. But before you go to that, come a bit down. Look at the financial and non-financial breakup. Financial, we all know. Annual financial statements, interim financial statements, it is a listed entity, earning releases. But in financials, you may also have business unit financials, which are reviewed internally, which are not shared outside the company. Product, customer, or geographic profitability. Again, these are internal information, but financial information. And then cost benefit analysis. Every company does it, whether they are offering profitable services, products or not. All these are internal. So COSO framework gives you guidance on how to take care of reporting, be it external or internal. Okay, we are going to do financial reporting. Now let's look at what can be the non-financial aspect. For external purposes, we have IFC reports. We have covenant compliance certificate. I hope everyone knows covenant compliance certificate. Basically, this is a certificate which is issued or desired when the company has loans and the company has to comply with both financial and non-financial covenant compliance. And if you don't comply with these loan covenants, the long-term loans will become short-term. In short terms, basically means that your cash flow will be impacted. So this is very important if the balance sheet has borrowings. Asset physical verification. Some companies which are asset-based put a lot of emphasis on this. So this becomes very important. Now let's look at internal non-financial information. Staff utilization. We all know IT industry. If the utilization is less, it's a concern for them. So they have to monitor the utilization. If the utilization is not good, they will not get the revenue. Next is your health and safety measure. From a compliance standard, we have a lot of environmental rules, regulations. If you don't comply with those, if you don't look into these aspects, you will be subject to penalty, you will be subject to legal action. And last one, customer satisfaction survey, or we call it CSAT. Basically, this is where you, as an internal auditor, address one of the key risks which is faced today. How to ensure that you don't lose customers, how to retain customers. Basically, in CSAT, what you do is you take feedback from the customers, that whether they are happy with the service or not. And if they are not happy, then the company should take steps to ensure that the customer satisfaction increases. If the customer is satisfied, it will give you repeat business. If the customer is not satisfied, you will lose the customer. So you have to expand your reporting horizon. It's not only about financial statements anymore. A lot has changed. So this slide gives you a peek into what can be reporting, both external, internal, financial, non-financial. Any questions, or should I move to the next slide? Next slide. This is one of the most significant enhancements. Outsourced service providers. When we talk about the internal control framework, we say, or we have the presumption, or we have the image that the internal control has to be of the company, which is within the company. Not anymore. Not anymore. You have to consider the controls of your service providers, which are here described as OSPs, outsourced service providers. Now, what can be an OSP? Let's see. If you outsource your payroll processing to a third party, that will become an OSP for you. Procurement function is outsourced. The third party is your OSP. Similarly, payable management, stock-based compensation, investment management, fixed assets, technology system. And these are just examples. If you outsource one of your processes, key processes, then you have to take care of the control which are there from the third party side or the OSP side on those processes. At the end of the day, you can't say that I don't have responsibility. No, not anymore. It is your responsibility. To the extent that if you have your own business conduct in place, and if the third party or OSP is non-compliant, then you will have a concern in your control testing. This is now significant changes which have been brought up by COSO 113 framework. And this spreads across all the components, right from control environment, risk assessment, control activities, information communication and monitoring. It impacts whether you have major deficiency or not. If their control fails, you will have an exception in your report. So this is where I have tried to capture component-wise requirements, and these are just illustrated cases. You can have more. The more you read, the more you analyze, you come out with more examples. You want to say something? Okay. So, the first one, this is another general category. Acknowledges, that is COSO framework acknowledges that management's operating model may use OSP to support achievement of objectives. My payroll processing is accurate. That is the objective. How do you achieve it? I have outsourced to a third party. Nowadays you have so many payroll processing entities. Maybe some of you have one. Even I've heard that CAs have their payroll processing services they offer to different clients. So you should be careful with this. Because if you are doing it, then your controls will be subject to review by your clients. Second bullet is the ultimate bullet, is the most important bullet. Although the organization may rely on OSP's management, retains ultimate responsibility for meeting the requirements of an effective system of internal control. You can outsource whatever you want. You keep the risk. So, tomorrow onwards, if you hear that something has been outsourced to a third party, you have to be more vigilant, more careful. What has been outsourced? How do I ensure the controls are effective there? I will not get into the other aspects because these are more theoretical, but I can give you a solution here. Now, when you outsource something, as an internal auditor or as an external auditor, the first question is, how, as an auditor, I cover my risk? That entity does not have anything wrong. That entity does not have broken controls, broken processes. How do I ensure that? There are two ways of doing it. It's not captured here. There are two ways. First, get a SOC 1 Type 2 report. SOC 1 is an IT report done by different entities. Even I think if you have IT experience, if you have done the relevant qualification, even you can get into SOC 1, SOC 2 report attestation services. Big Four does it, and definitely as independent chartered accountants, as professionals, you can also do. So get the SOC 1 Type 2 report. Type 1, Type 2 means, Type 1 means design tested. Type 2 means design and operating effectiveness tested. So always exist for SOC 1 Type 2 report. Go through the report. If you see any observations, any control break, analyze how exactly that will impact your into the control framework assessment and opinion, and then give a report. Second scenario, when you don't have this report, then you have to get your hands dirty. You have to get into the client premise, the vendor premises or the OSP premises, and then do the testing. So, two options: either go for SOC 1 Type 2 report or do the testing on your own. We can't leave such areas unattended, or we can't take simply a management representation of those areas. No. The risk is of the management, and then it is of you. If you are the internal auditor, if you are the statutory auditor, you have to take these things, you have to look into these things. Okay? Let's move to the next item. Emphasis on anti-fraud expectations. Now, the earlier COSO framework had only one thing on fraud: asset misappropriation. But that was 1992. I was in school then. Most of you definitely either starting their careers or will be studying. A lot has changed. Now, COSO is emphasizing on what are you doing on frauds? Where is the fraud risk assessment? And if you don't have these, you have a concern. You can't simply do an enterprise risk assessment and close, no. You need to have frameworks, adequate measures, anti-fraud controls, which should be updated as frequently as possible. And above all, you can't ignore IT. If you recollect the news of the last 1 year, every quarter you will have some news on IT, cyber attacks, cyber crime. That's growing. And with that, our risks. As professionals, we can't say that, okay, this is not okay, this is not okay. No, not anymore. We have to get our hands dirty. We have to get into IT. We have to understand the risk. We have to understand what the company is doing. I'll give you one scenario. This is from my personal experience. We are doing the standard of a company, and we completely relied on the IT team. So they did the testing, and then we asked them a question. You are saying that the IT control environment is effective. Can the management override IT controls? There was no answer. Because now they have to think, can the controls be overridden by the management? For example, if my revenue for a particular quarter is short, can the CFO pass an entry? Or can he influence someone to jack up the numbers? You can't have a simple answer for that, but you have to look for the risk. And these are the risks which will hit you if you are not vigilant. So fraud is very important. You have to be careful. What can result in fraud? I have a slide on fraud where we will discuss what are the companies which are present when a fraud happens, what we should do for fraud risk assessment. Next is the relevance of technology. We have discussed technology is the key now. You can't ignore it. I understand that at times it becomes painful to understand, it becomes painful to cooperate, but this is the key. Technology has to be understood by us. Just because a client has an ERP does not mean the client is efficient or there are no issues. You have to understand how the control works, how the ERP works. One of the key things which I want you to look is the last bullet. Just take a moment and read it. I hope it's visible from the last one. No? Okay, I'll read it. Well-designed system of engine controls can break down when changes in IT application controls are implemented before personnel have been adequately trained. If you are implementing an IT system, an ERP system, or there are changes in your ERP, and you have not trained your team members, people who have to work on that application, you are bound to fail. If people are not trained, they will commit mistakes, and some of those mistakes may be severe. It may result in material errors, material issues in your reporting. So, implementation without adequate training is a sure shot recipe for failure. So if tomorrow the client goes, I have a wonderful system which I have implemented, ask him how exactly have you gone about the trainings. If he says no, we are still training the people, then you have a risk. You can't have an effective system without people understanding the system. Same goes for IT. Training is not done, system is not effective. You will share the slides with the. You will share the slides with everyone?
Yes, yes, you share the slides.
Okay.
Presentation is uploaded.
Okay.
Presentation is uploaded.
So I'm not here to each and every item. There are a lot of things for you guys to read, you guys to understand. Next is your requirement from an effective internal control. How do I say, or when do I conclude that the internal control is effective? As per the standard, as per COSO, you have an effective internal control when all the 5 components are present in functions and they are operating together. All the 5 components, control environment, risk assessment, control activity, information communication and monitoring are present. When I say present, it means design wise. And operating effectiveness is there. And they are working together. Let's take an example. Salary. One of the components or concerns in controlled environment is I need to retain people. I need to retain talent. Company should have policies, procedures, strategies to retain talent. If you lose talent, in employees, then you will not be able to cope up with the risk of the changing environment, and you will not be able to justify the operations. You need talented people. Everyone needs talented people. So you need to retain them. How do you retain them? By offering them good salaries, good perks. That's control environment. Look at the risk. The salary, the perks should be commensurate with the job description. I can't offer a manager salary to an entry-level person. That will be unjustified. That may result in fraud scenarios. Now I've said fraud. How will you see a fraud here? An employee who is hired at an entry level but is given 100% increment. Why? Because it is sourced from a third party whom I have to pay on the basis of CTC offer. I will give you the example. I have hired an employee at entry level by offering the employee 100% increment. Means his existing CTC was 2 lakh rupees, I am offering 4 lakh rupees. 100% increment. However, since this employee is hired through a third party vendor, I have to pay a commission to the vendor, say at the rate of 8.33%. So I will pay him 8.33% of 4 lakh rupees. The higher the increment, the more the commission, more my expenses. That may become a fraud. So that way you have to come down the line. So we have covered control environment, risk assessment, control activities. Now we have this scenario where the risk is I may offer unjustified increments to employees. What control should we put? Increments can't be given above 25%. Anything above 25% has to be approved by the managing director. Example. However, no scenario is give increment below above 50%. Anything above 50% has to go to the remuneration committee. That's your control activities. Now, information and communication. The salary offered, the previous salary which the employee was drawing, is captured in the system. So, if the previous CTC was 2 lakh rupees and you offered 4 lakh rupees, both the data should be present in your system to do this analysis. If you don't have the previous CTC, how will you know how much income was given? So, information is very important. Once you have the information, you need to have processes which will raise the red flag. Oh, this is a guy who was offered 100% increment. There is no justification. There is no approval mechanism. Someone need to question that. How do you question that? Unless and until you have the information. And at the end, in the monitoring section, you will see the control which you have put now, wherein any increments below 20, above 25 is approved by the audit committee or whoever you have decided, and whether those approvals are being taken or not. If those approvals are taken, then the control is effective. Monitoring is taken care of. If not, then you have to reinvestigate the entire control, and then the process flows again. So all the components has to work together. This is one example. Like you can pick any area, revenue, procurement, any area, and you will see how it flows from control environment to monitoring. Next, board of directors. COSO has some very interesting insights on how the board of directors should function. What should be the do's and don'ts. They should be reviewing the annual self-assessment of the audit committee. Again, these are examples. So, the board of directors are expected to review the self-assessment of audit committees. They should have resources at their disposal to investigate issues. They may delegate it, but this is something which they should have. They have the responsibility of overseeing the system of internal control. Even if you remember, in India we have this. They have a key role to play in defining the expectation, integrity, and ethical values. And they should have open communication, access to third parties, including external auditors, internal auditors, so that they understand what is happening in the company, what are the things which the auditors want to confide in them. So if you see audit committees, big audit committees, they have a special session where everyone walks out and it's just the auditors and the board or the audit committee members. Same thing with the internal auditors. There is a separate channel, communication channel, which the board has. So, board of directors have a lot of responsibility. They have a lot to cover, and in a way it's good because now it's more or less crystal clear. It's not ambiguous. They know what to do, what not to do. And the last one, globalization. The framework is designed in such a way that it considers what is happening around the company. If the company is stepping into a new area, say a US company wants to invest in India, like I just recently saw a TV ad, Kia will be launching its cars. So, what should they be doing? It's not a secret anymore. It's now it's open. The do's and don'ts for globalization is now open, and COSO covers it. So with this, we are done with the enhancement section of COSO 2013 framework. If you have any questions, I will take it now, or we will move to the next slide. Yeah.
Who is the process owner of COSO in a company? Listed company?
Anyone wants to help me on this question? This question is, who are the owners of COSO? You're talking from the company point of view, right? Anyone?
Board of that functional heads, audit committee and board of that.
Board directors, audit committee, functional heads, what else?
Internal auditor. Internal auditor.
Internal auditors. Everyone, starting from the highest level in the company to the person who is executing the control, has the responsibility for COSO. If a person is executing a control, doing any review activity, he has the ownership. And it starts from that person and it ends with everyone who has responsibility in the company, be it the highest level. So this is about the company. Outside the company, you have the outsourced service providers which we discussed. If they are doing business with the company have to execute agreements in such a way that whatever control framework they are following, whatever policies they are following, the vendors have to abide by it. So vendors become one of the responsible individuals. Then someone said auditors. That's right. Auditors have to ensure that if the company has followed COSO framework, they have to do testing and ensure that they are actually adhering to it. Does this answer your question?
So, the final authority of implementation, these are the people who have to follow it. But let's say internal auditor will be auditing the internal control and the COSO also?
Depends whether, first of all, the company is actually following COSO or not. In Indian scenario, you have SS 315, which is nothing but similar to COSO, but you can't say COSO. So say you have to say SS 315. So when you are doing IFC testing, you have to ensure compliance with SS 315. However, if you are doing SOX, and the company says we have COSO framework, then you have to ensure COSO compliance. Does this answer your question? Let's look at the COSO cube. Imagine a three-dimensional picture. X-axis, Y-axis, Z-axis. This is what we need in statistics or maths, right? Objectives, that is, operations, reporting and compliance on top. These are the objectives which any company in the world will have to achieve. When I say operations, it means what? I should have efficient and effective operations in the best way possible. When I say reporting, it means what? Whatever reporting criteria there, be it financial, non-financial, I should comply with it. Closed. Full stop. Last one. Compliance. You have a lot of compliance requirement. The framework, the control should ensure that you comply with all of it. That's how these three are your objectives. Operations, reporting, compliance. Then you have components. How do you ensure these objectives are met? By breaking these objectives into different components. Control environment. Say your operations. What is the current state of affairs of your operations? What are the risks you see? That will be captured in your risk assessment. Based on the risk and mitigation factors, you put controls in place to ensure that the operations are run effectively and efficiently. That will be a control activity. Now, how do you ensure that the controls and operations are effective? By ensuring that you have adequate, relevant and complete information. That will be part of information and communication. And then you have monitoring activities. What are the controls are in place? Are present and functioning or are adequate and effective. That's it, multi-activities. So all these objectives have to have further breakup into these components. And then these components have to go through the entire entity, starting from the entity to division to operation to the smallest level possible, which is material. It does not mean that you implement it to a business unit which does not have any significance to you. To the smallest material level possible. That's how the COSO cube works. Objectives, components, business. And at the end of the day, it's business which has to have these things. Let's look at the relationship. Objective represents what are really desires. These are represented by the column which I just showed you at the top. Components represent what is required to achieve these objectives. And then entity structure. These are represented by the operating units, legal entities and other structures. This is the third dimension. So, I hope everyone has understood at a high level what exactly these components are. So now I will get into further detail into components. We'll start with the control environment. You have 5 principles here which are directly linked to control environment. What are the principles? Demonstrate commitment to integrity and ethical values. Basically, you should have a code of conduct, ethics, which gives you guidance on compliance with different statutes, with insider trading, with conflict of interest scenarios, which should tell you the do's and don'ts to all the employees. And through this, the company can ensure that they have higher levels of integrity, high ethical values. They don't ignore non-compliance. That's how you establish the tone at the top. It is very important nowadays. You will have overall oversight responsibilities, then structure, authority and responsibility across the entity should be identified, established, and then the responsibility should be given. Okay, based on the structure, you have this responsibility. Ensure that you meet the objectives here. That's what enforced accountability means. And then you have commitment to competence. I will not go to the entire table. I will pick a few items here. Like the second one. The point of focus here is provides oversight for the system of entry control. The chair of the ethics committee receives whistleblower complaints which are investigated by the internal team. It says internal team, it may be investigated by the internal investigations team, or it is outsourced to a third party, to a professional like us. Based on the investigation, the root cause, including management override, that's the key, management override or fraud, are identified and action is taken. So this is a very important aspect, which nowadays we call it whistleblower. We have section 177. So you need to have strong controls around whistleblower. There are companies who call it ombudsman. So that's something which should be present. Even though it's a requirement for listed entities, other entities should have it. If they want to succeed, if they want to demonstrate that they have world-class controls. And then, once you have put the structure in place, you have to ensure that the structure is properly utilized. How do you do that? By ensuring that whatever comes through a channel is looked into in a proper way and justice is done. to the results. So first is, you have to tell everyone in the company that we have a whistleblower complaint side, or we have whistleblower facility. Wherein you have any grievance, you can come and report. If you want, you will be anonymous. You will not disclose your identity. Second, the company needs to have strong processes to investigate. And when I say investigate, the person or department who is investigating should have authority to ask whatever they want, which is justified. And then, when you have the results, the root cause, the senior folks, the board of the audit committee should take action. And that's how they ensure that the toe on the top is correct. That's how they ensure that they don't ignore non-compliance. The next one which I want to highlight here is the fourth line. Design, assigns and limits authorities and responsibilities. Management and the board delegate authority, define responsibility, use appropriate process and technology to assign responsibility and SOD as necessary at various levels of the organization. Any thoughts? What is this SOD?
Segregation duties.
You're right. A segregation duties. COSO framework itself has a lot of emphasis on segregation duties. But what is segregation duties?
Because assign roles. Based on their employment roles, you assign the controls. What is the level of access one person?
So, authority, whatever access you have or the authority you have, is in line with the job description. Further, the same person should not have privileges where they can commit fraud or they can commit and conceal it. That's the high level definition of SOD. So again, it's part of control environment as well as control activities. We'll see subsequent slides. SOD is one of the key aspects for any employment you do. Whenever you do a process understanding, make sure you check for SOD. Because of the size, because of the complexity, the company may not realize, the folks themselves may not realize that they have SOD conflict. So be careful for SOD. And the last one which I want to highlight here is, the last one, evaluates competence and addresses shortcomings. The audit committee meets with external auditors to assess management estimates. And its financial impact. Any thoughts? What is a management estimate? These are estimates which the management has derived or arrived at based on information and past experience. Sorry?
Enterprise risk management.
Enterprise risk management is not a management estimate.
Budget.
But
Can it be like part of
Budget,
Sort of.
sorry?
Sort of.
And any other case?
Is management's estimate of the risk of the
Risk of?
risk of the organization.
Okay, we'll see that. I have a slide on that, we'll see that. So, management estimate I have part. Let's look at this question here. I'll just read out for you. All employees of XYZ Limited, which is listed, are required to go through the Code of Conduct and Ethics Policy training. The policy covers items including insider trading, POSH, which is prevention of sexual harassment, conflict of interest, and whistleblower, which requires employees to report any non-compliances. This is standard. Now here comes the trickiest part. However, employees are not required to acknowledge that they have gone through the policy and they have nothing to report. Now, as an auditor, what is going to be your opinion? Will you say that the control design is effective? Yes? No? Or can't say? No.
Whether the second para is mentioned or it's open.
It's,
Whether it forms part of the.
yeah, it's part of the first para.
It's not effective.
Not effective. Anyone who says effective?
So actually the question can be broken into two. That is, they have to acknowledge that they have gone through the policy, but if nothing to report, it is left to the choice of the employee.
Okay, so both the, I have just broken the same content into two bullets. So don't read them separately. It's part of the same question. So will you say the control is effective? No. So we unanimously agree that the control is not effective. Because the basic thing, whether the employee has understood the policy is not there. I can throw any policy on the employee, but whether the employee is understanding it or not. And second, whether the employees acknowledge that they have anything to report or not. Unless until we do that, we can't say that we have effective controls. We can't say that the ethics or compliance or integrity is something which is inbuilt or coherent in the fabric of the entity's culture. There are companies who may have scenarios like this. As an auditor, you have to be careful. You will be challenged as internal auditors and external auditors why the design is not effective. And you have to be vocal, but firmly, when you face scenarios. Okay. Now, management estimate. We were talking about what can be a management estimate. So, we all must have faced or reviewed revenue and receivables or debtors. Everyone? We are familiar with this term? Provision for bad debt, provision for doubtful debts. That's a management estimate. That number which is reduced from debtors balance, how do you compute? You say, okay, based on my past experience, these vendors will not pay at all. So you write out. These vendors will pay in the next 90 days. These vendors will pay in the next 100 days. And they will not pay the entire amount, they will pay 80%, 70%. Based on that, based on the number of days, you create an estimate based on past experience. Now if you interact with government companies, you will say, okay, I will not create any provision for 2 years or 3 years. Because these are government companies, they will pay based on past experience. If you are a very system-driven, data-driven company, what will you do? You will take out your data for the last 3 years. You will see the times they have taken to pay the debt. And then you will bucket it. How many of them paid in full, in how many days? You give them weights. And then you compute how many pays in 90 days, how many pays beyond 90 days. And then you assign a percentage. That's the most scientific way of computing this. But in this case also, it's a management estimate. So, you have to be careful as an auditor when you are looking into management estimates. Now, same estimate can be tweaked to favor the company. So, if the data suggests that anything beyond 100 days is not recoverable, it means you have to create a provision which will impact the balance sheet as well as P&L. So your bottom line will reduce. If the company is struggling to meet its numbers, what they will do? They will be liberal with provisions. They will say, no, I expect them to pay in the next 200 days. That's where you have to analyze the data. You have to question the management. That's where it becomes important for you to assess this. And mind you, these are very tricky areas. They can show you a lot of things. They can show you a lot of industry comparatives. But again, you have to do your own research and be firm in your stand. Now, this is something which you will see in IT, where they do POC, percentage of completion. They do estimates. What is the current stage of the project? So it's cost incurred by the expected cost to be incurred. Again, it's an estimate. So how good are they in estimating these things? You have to look into those aspects. The best way to check is what is the variance in the total cost of the base on a periodic basis. So we all know how the POC is computed, right? The bottom, the denominator is the total cost to be incurred. If that total cost is constant, is not changing throughout the life of the project, then you can say with good level of certainty that okay, they have good controls. But if they are changing the base itself, it means they are playing with numbers. If they are playing, it means they don't have strong controls to estimate. If they don't have strong controls to estimate, then how will you have comfort to conclude that whatever estimates which they have done is right? Actuarial assumptions. This becomes handy when you are looking into gratuity or leading cash flow. There is a section where they actually notes the assumptions. Now, some of those assumptions are driven by data from say LIC, but some are company specific data like salary escalation and attrition. So that's why you have to do your homework and see whether the numbers which are present can be justified, can be recomputed. Now, for interim financial reporting, even India study force says that you have to do weighted average tax computation, which is called an ETR, when for quarterly tax provision. That's an estimate. Management considers the deductible, non-deductible expenses. They estimate the tax liability for the entire year, and that rate is used to compute the provision for the quarter or quarters. That's an estimate. Useful life of an asset. That's an estimate. So these are some cases. Like that, if you see, every area will have some estimate or the other. You have to be careful because those estimates has the potential to result in a material mistake. You would have heard cases where a company missed a particular item in its revenue estimates and the top line was overstated. Then in actual assumptions, the salary increment was incorrectly captured as 2% instead of 8%. The liability amount was incorrect. So like that you see a lot of cases. Sorry?
The office order will be there. The office order stating that they've got 8% increment will be there. So when he gets his salary, he'll be able to calculate whether it's 8% or 2%.
Yeah, but in the actual assumption, which is used for computing a gratuity liability or leaving capital liability, has 2% as the salary increment. So that way it's wrong. I understand that you're getting 8%, but that 8% should also be present in the actual assumption report, actual assumptions, which is part of the actual liability computation. There, if the rate is incorrect, the entire liability computation will be wrong. Now let's look at risk assessment. You need to be sure what exactly are your objectives, what exactly the company wants to achieve, be it financial statement adherence to auditors gap, be it operations effectiveness and efficiency, compliance with different rules, regulations or statute. The company needs to be careful. They need to identify the object first. What exactly you want to achieve. Based on the objective, the company needs to see what are the risks which it faces. And then you should, or the company should, draft the controls. So objective first, risk means what will stop the company from achieving those objectives, and then the control. But please never do it the other way around. Controls, this is the control I have. I can put the objectives and the risk. Never ever do that. That's a wrong practice. That's incorrect. So that is risk assessment in simple terms. Here I want to highlight the third line, fraud risk assessment. Remember, we discussed fraud risk as one of the key changes in 2013 framework. So what exactly do in fraud risk assessment? Anyone? Anyone who has done fraud risk assessment? Let me help you. In fraud risk assessment, you review the processes. You take inputs from the process owners and senior folks as to what is their take on fraud risk. We know what can go wrong, but what fraud can happen. We have to take inputs from them. And then we have to use our expertise, our connects to understand what are the fraud risks which are prevalent in the industry, in the geography. Make a list of this. Assess the risk in terms of significance and likelihood, means how frequently this risk may happen. Post that, put the control which are existing in terms of effectiveness. So you have the risk rating of the fraud risk and the control effectiveness. The differential will be your residual risk. Residual risk. Now, as management or company, you may decide how much risk appetite you have. Risk for which you need not do anything, no action required. So, for those types of scenarios, we will not do anything. Second, if the risk is high, then either you can take steps to reduce the risk to a particular level by changing the process, by putting new controls in place, by putting different processes like data analytics, CACMs. Or you can further decide, okay, the risk is too high, it will not be fruitful for me to do business here. Let's hide the business. Or the risk is too high, however, I don't have any controls in place, but I want to do business. Let me get insurance. These are the strategies of managing risks. So, one slide on fraud. So, we all have our own definition of fraud. So, at the end of the day, anything which is deceitful, concealed, which is violation of trust, is fraud. I'm not getting into any definition as such. We have our own interpretation and it stands correct. But the main factor here is, what are the items which should be present to say there is a fraud? Or when a fraud happens, what are the components or ingredients which are present? Let's see that. 3 elements are present when a fraud occurs. Opportunity. You have a risk for which there is no control. You have a process breakdown. You have a control gap. That's the opportunity. Incentives of pressure. Why do you commit fraud? To make money, to be quickly rich, or to avenge something. or his financial position is not good, he needs money, he needs support. And then, this is the trickiest part. Then you justify it. That's attitude or rationalization. So, a director has siphoned 20 lakh rupees from the company's pension fund through fraud. And what is justification? I was not paid good bonus in the last 2 years. This is how I get back. This is how I take revenge. Or a person is saying my salary is too low. The company is making profit but they are not paying money to me. This is how I justify this. I am not cheating the company. I am just taking what is rightfully mine. Like I will hear a lot of justification when I thought of this from the fraudsters. And believe me, they will come out with justification which you can't imagine, which you can't think of. So every fraud scenario will have these things. Opportunity, that's control gap, percent right now. Incentives of pressure and attitude of rationalization. Risk responses, which just discussed, and we just repeated for our understanding. Sharing, reducing the risk likelihood or impact by transferring or otherwise sharing a portion of the risk. This is where insurance comes handy. You get the process or risk insured. Acceptance, no action taken to affect risk likelihood or impact. This is where the company decides that this is the risk which they have to consider. For example, nowadays companies are saying that all employee-related travel expenses for business purposes, if these expenses are up to 3,000 rupees, employees can claim the expenses by filling a form. No one will review the details of the expenses till it is approved. So 3,000. So if you are claiming expenses up to 3,000 rupees towards travel for business purposes, no questions will be asked. That's their risk appetite. So I have given you one scenario. Like that, if you look at companies, you will have different scenarios. A person can approve capital expenditure of say 10,000 rupees or 10 lakh rupees. That's the risk appetite of the company. Avoidance. So this is where we entirely hide off the activity to avoid this because we can't manage it. It's too risky. And then reduction. This is where we do a lot of work. We do internal audits, we do process changes, we do process re-engineering, we do data analytics, we do CSCM to ensure that the risk is within the limit. We don't have any serious concerns coming out. Next is your control activity. So based on the risk assessment, you identify the mitigation plan, which is what needs to be done to address the risk, and then you implement those by way of policies and procedures. Now it talks about balanced approach. If you see the second bullet in ICO4 approach. Balanced approach to address the risk by considering manual or automated and preventive and or detective control. It talks about a best mix, a desired state of controls. How many controls should be manual, how many controls should be automated? And that's nowadays is a burning question. What should be the adequate mix of manual or automated controls? What should be the desired mix of preventive and detective controls? I face these questions. The client will ask you also, what is the desired mix? And what will you say? Let's discuss that. So for simplicity, I put a table here. So we have manual and automated, and preventive and directive. Let's think about a company which was doing everything through manual processes. All preventive, directive controls were manual. Now the company is exposed to IT. They have recently implemented or bought some applications, and they are putting new controls in place. Sounds exciting. Any idea how their controls spread will look like?
There will be manual running also and computer running.
But the manual portion will be heavy. You see, the manual portion is heavier than the automated portion. They have very few automated controls because they are stepping into application. They are just buying applications or say implementing some systems. It's still heavily manually driven, manual controls driven. Automation is very, very less or minuscule. And if you see the split between manual and detective, it's more towards detective side. Preventive controls are less. So, long story short, if something happens, the possibility of stopping that incident is less. The possibility of detecting that incident is less. Because I am a company who have more of manual controls, and my manual detective controls are more in number than my manual preventive controls. Now consider a second case where the company has spent 2-3 years with the applications or ER. They are investing in the controls which are automated. But again, that will give you a picture like this, where they have automated controls which are more of detective controls. They have put some automated preventive controls, but again the number is less. You can see significant difference. The number of automated controls are jumping. But again the focus is on automated detective. Automated preventive is still less, and that's the concern. If you ask me what should be the desired state of controls, they should be. Maximum number of controls should be preventive automated. Maximum number of controls. So that risk can be checked before it happens. The possibility of something going wrong is reduced at the starting point. You should have good number of automated detective controls, like bank reconciliation. We should increase the frequency. So if you're doing a bank reconciliation on a monthly basis, you should do it on a daily basis. And at an overall level, your dependence on manual controls should reduce. So if you see in this, the number of manual controls is the number of automated controls. Manual controls are very less as compared to automated controls. And we will see one of the inherent limitation of manual control is human error. You can't avoid it. We can manage these things if we try to achieve this state. Definitely this state is more like a theoretical example. It's very difficult for any company to achieve, but definitely we can strive to move toward this direction. So I hope you guys have an idea now. When someone asks what should be the standard state, what should be your answer? More of automated preventive controls and less of manual controls. Let's look at information communication. So we have discussed this, where we capture the relevant information. Relevant. So for example, if I have to record payroll expenses, I should be looking at the gross column of payroll with this thing, not the net column. You have to capture the expenses. If I have to capture the payment amount, I have to capture the net amount of payroll, not the gross amount. So relevant information is very important. period for which you are capturing the information is very important. Then you should have good communication channels within the company. One case is your whistleblower complaints. If a particular employee is not satisfied or noted some non-compliances, you should have communication channels which allows the employee to completely and accurately register his or her concerns. Second will be communication of results, financial results. Third will be communication of promotions and increments. If you don't have proper communication channels, which will ensure communications security and accuracy, you face a lot of issues, a lot of risk. Next is communicate externally. If you are filing a return, you need to have communication system in place so that the return is completely and accurately filed. Whatever you want to upload is uploaded. You don't have a person changing it in between. If you are receiving a notice, it is captured with your system. It should not be lost in translation. We face a lot of scenarios nowadays or earlier where notices from different government authorities are not tracked by the companies. The usual response was, what's there to lose? But you will receive a notice for demand, notice for appeal, and if you don't track the miss the deadline, company may face serious penalties, litigation exposure. So communication with both internal parties and external parties is very important. Last component is your monitoring activities. So here you conduct ongoing and separate evaluations. Any thoughts what is ongoing evaluation? Anyone? Anyone from this side? So, when you are putting review mechanisms or controls, it should not be a one-time activity. Try to have a mix of both, one-time as well as continuous activities. High-risk areas like revenues, like people expenses, like fixed assets, if it's big case for you. Try to have recurring reviews. You can say concurrent review or you have CSCM in place, which gives you the input on what the key risk and where are you in terms of risk. Do you have any exceptions, non-compliance or not? Do you have any outliers or not? And if you have outliers, what were the reasons for those? Those should be frequently checked, especially for high-risk areas. And for medium or low risk, you can decide that okay, we should review it once in a year, once in 2 years, once in 3 years, depending on the risk assessment and the audit time. But it has to be a mix of both, recurring and one-time activities. Let's look at line 4, communicate deficiencies. Deficiencies are communicated to parties responsible for taking corrective action and to senior management and the board director as appropriate. So first of all, we need to identify deficiencies. What is a deficiency? Anyone, any thoughts? What can be a deficiency? Process lapses, okay. Anything else?
Compliance lapses.
Compliance lapses, okay.
Internal controls are not effective.
Okay. Okay. Anyone from this side?
Key process owners are not communicated about the thing.
Key process?
Key process owners are not aware of
the controls which are defined.
Key process are not aware of the controls which are defined.
That's
It's scary.
This way.
It is scary. So let's look at those.
So one more deficiency would be whether the process itself is correct or not, because of the changing scenarios we need to change the controls as well.
So you're talking about design efficiency. So the framework defines efficiency as a shortcoming in a component or components and develop principles that reduce the likelihood that an entity can achieve its objectives. So the possibility of the entity not achieving its objectives, or the possibility of an entity not addressing a risk, or the control is failing. Because you put a control to address a risk which stops the company from achieving its objectives. You put a control to address a risk which stops the company from achieving its objective. So if the control fails, you will not be able to address the risk and you will not meet the objectives. That's the definition of internally controlled deficiency. And as you can see, it's a very vague term. Anything which has low impact to high impact will be covered as part of internal control deficiency. Look at the bar at the bottom. Red means high risk findings, high risk deficiencies. Green, low risk findings. Everything here will be internal control deficiency. Now we are professionals. We need to have something major. What are high risk observation? What is significant deficiency of material weakness? In COSO terms, they have a definition called major deficiency. Let's see. So major deficiency is something which either on a standalone basis or in combination with others severely reduces the likelihood that an entity will achieve its objectives. Means you will not be able to address the risk, means the control will fail severely and it will have a material impact. And if I have to look at the bar chart, the bar at the bottom, the portion on the right side will be the major deficiency. What should be major, what should not be major is something which you have to assess or you have to help the company to assess depending on thresholds. Now these thresholds can be qualitative and quantitative. So when I say quantitative, based on the nature of industry, you can put a threshold, say a percentage of profit before tax. If it's a company in the IT, ITS sector. If it's a company in real estate, then definitely revenue will not be the criteria. It should be the asset base. If it is a company which has a lot of loans, then it should be a personal loan. So depending on the industry, you decide the quantitative threshold, decide whether it's major or not. Now let's look at the qualitative factors. Whether there is a fraud risk, whether there is a related party transaction, whether the accounts or transactions are of unusual nature. These are complex transactions. So we can go on and on. But at the end of the day, you need to have a list of qualitative factors to conclude whether it's material or not. And please note, when I say qualitative factor, you need not have a very big amount and a qualitative factor. You can have a very small amount with qualitative factor. It means, suppose the threshold, materiality threshold is 10 lakh rupees and you have an amount of 5 lakhs, but with a fraud risk, it will become a major deficiency. You have to consider qualitative and quantitative factors separately. one quick question here. Which component, we discussed 5 components, which component covers the assessment of controls? Is it control environment? Is it risk assessment? Is it control activities? Is it information and communication? Or is it monitoring? Monitoring is the right answer. Risk assessment, you consider the control efficiency or effectiveness testing already done and analyze the residual risk rating. In monitoring step, you assess the existing controls in place to see whether you have any deficiency or not. Effective system of internal controls. Now we will all have a basic idea. What do we mean by effective system of internal controls? So you will have an effective system of internal control when it provides reasonable assurance, and please mark my words, reasonable assurance. It will never be absolute assurance. Reasonable assurance of an entity's objectives reduces the risk of not achieving an objective relating to 1, 2 or all categories. What are the categories which I am talking about here? It's not component, all categories. These are the categories. Operations, reporting, compliance. Do you know the COSO framework?
Q.
Sorry, COSO Q. You're right, I stand corrected. COSO Q. So these are the categories. Operations, reporting and compliance. So if the controls framework, the systems is reducing the risk of not achieving objectives related to these, then it is effective. Again, it's very theoretical, very high level. Let's define it. So, 5 components: control environment, risk assessment, control activities, information communication and monitoring are relevant principles, are present and function, means they have design effectiveness and operating effectiveness for these 5 components. And these 5 components are working together in an integrated manner. Remember the first example which I gave on HR, salaries, how much increments to give, how you can have a fraud risk. So if you have these 5 components present and functioning and working in an integrated manner, you will achieve these 3 objectives. But what exactly you will achieve in these 3 objectives? Let's see that. In terms of operations, you will achieve an effective and efficient operations for the company. Or understand the extent to which operations can be managed effectively and efficiently when external events may have a significant impact on the achievement of objectives. It means what? You will have external factors which no one can control. You will not be able to assess a control. For example, the fluctuation in crude price. If you are having a transport company where your rate with the client are based on your current diesel rates. If the diesel rate varies by say 10 rupees, my freight price will increase by this much. You don't have a control on the crude oil price. You can't control. Subject to that, you can say, I will operate effectively and efficiently. In terms of reporting, Management prepares in conformity with applicable rules, regulations, standards established by legislators, regulators, or with companies' specified objectives and related policies. And last one, you comply with all rules and regulations. So if you achieve all this, what can we conclude in terms of deficiencies? Internal control deficiencies aggregated across components do not result in one or more major deficiencies. If you have these items, then you cannot have a major deficiency. Or put it this way, if you have a major deficiency, then we have a concern about. This is the last topic of the day, internal control limitations. So we always say that, okay, we can give you reasonable assurance that the internal control environment is effective, controls are effective. Why do we say that? Why we can't give absolute assurance? This is the reason. This is the reason why you will not be able to give absolute assurance. You should never give absolute assurance. I have been asked by my clients a number of times, please give me absolute assurance, or you will not get the work. And definitely you might have to challenge on similar grounds. Please give me absolute assurance. Why can't you give absolute assurance? These are the reasons. Collusion. Ability of the management, employee or third parties to circumvent control through collusion. Remember, we have SODs. SODs takes care of 2 or 3 key levels. But if you have collisions involving multiple levels, it will be very difficult for internal controls to identify and stop those. So that's a limitation. Management override of controls. So if the management decides to override control by, say, influencing the process owners, then you can't stop them. For example, a person has to pass accounting entries for revenue recognition, and there is a lot of influence or say direction from finance controller or the CFO himself, looking at to pass this accounting entry. Now CFO is not passing the entry. He is influencing this person to pass the entry. You will have sampling this, because of which you will not be able to detect this. And this may result in overstatement of revenues. That's an override. Human judgment can be faulty and subject to bias. This is what we discussed earlier in control activities. We were emphasizing on more of automated controls, less of man controls. Human, we are all subject to faults and bias. So it's not practically possible, but the more reliance or the less reliance we have on manual control, the better it is. Suitability of objectives established as a precondition to internal controls. Remember, we said we should always decide the objectives, then risk, then control. It should not be the other way around. If you are doing the other way around, it will be difficult to say the control will be able to address the risk completely and accurately. External events which are beyond organization control. The previous slide we discussed. If there are certain external controls, it's not necessary or applicable that you will be able to control it. Most of the time these are not within your control, not within your reach. So these will limit the effectiveness of the controls. And last one, breakdown. If there is a process breakdown into human error, the control environment will not be able to address this.
Can you give any example of the external events?
I just mentioned now, the fluctuation in oil prices. That can have so many things. The devaluation of the currency. Then you have, say, a breakdown. say there's a bulb. If there's a bulb and you can't do anything, and you have to support foreign operations, you will do this. You will have non-compliance. So with this, we are done with the presentation. These are my coordinates. But we still have 20 minutes. So let me know if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer those.
Yes, if you were to read yesterday's news in that fraud happened in Manipal, can we say this complete collapse of internal control there? No? CFO could recognize internal audit, external audit, nobody could remember for the last 3 years. 6 years. It's 3 years or 6 years.
I can't comment on those things. So it's difficult to comment on a company's specific scenario. And I have not gone through the entire thing, so it's not possible for me to comment. But definitely, these are things which we should all be careful of, because you had these cases and you had a lot of things happening outside India. Recently, we heard about one of the key big CEOs investigated and apprehended in a foreign location.
See, we always hear of...
And CFO also. So these are things which we have to be careful of. These are a mix of both fraud and things which we can't control. Yes, sorry.
See, we always hear of the fraud once it has happened, then we blame it on lack of internal control. But are you aware of any situation where fraud was actually detected and prevented because there was a strong internal control?
Fraud was detected. So all these cases that you see where the news say of the fraud detected is actually reduction. Prevented, so you mean to say basically a fraud was ongoing and before it could materialize, it was stopped? Well, we all know what happened with the Bank of Bangladesh.
Well, a fraud happened, so at that time nobody caught it, but at some point later they would have...
Okay. So it's not complete information which I have, but what I know is that it was bank heist of around $950 million, out of which $850 million were stopped from getting into the hands of these guys, the fraudsters. So they stopped it. Be it control, be it regulation, whatever you want to call it, because of the control environment. Out of 950, 850 was stopped. Again, around $20 million further went to some fraudster or changed hands, but again those were traced and stopped. The net loss was around only $18 million. So every fraud story will have two aspects, prevention and reduction. Now, if something is like Enron, definitely there was no prevention, there was no reduction. But this bank, Bangladesh bank heist has both aspects. I believe there are some good articles on the net. You will be able to see that, okay, you have good instances of prevention. Remember, there was a fraud detected around Enron, WorldCom, something like that, I forgot the name. So it was the internal audit team who identified the fraud. They put the fraud in front of the senior folks, all the actors. And because of which the company filed a bankruptcy, that's another thing. But it was the internal audit team who did the work. So you have a lot of cases where it was identified by a good teamwork, by good professionals. So you will have a mix of all this.
Sir, if the internal audit team is also, they are also the employees of an organization, and if fraud occurs, then who will be held responsible? Internal audit team?
So if you see the structure of any internal audit team or the CAE, the head of the internal audit team is called the Chief Audit Executive or the CAE. So as per the standards, they have to have the functional reporting to the audit committee. They don't report to the CXOs of the company. Only for administrative purposes So that's how you ensure independence. Okay, so there's some level of independence, objectivity in their work. However, if you see that the fraud is of such a magnitude that it may impair the ability of the existing internal team to do a justified review or investigation, the companies or the board directors or their charters always give them powers to involve a third party and do the investigation. If you remember in board directors slide, we have mentioned that the board directors have resources at its disposal to conduct investigations. So they have both options. Do it in-house or do it for third party.
But this administrative reporting sometimes creates hindrances in effective functioning of internal audit team.
Right?
As an employee.
Like what?
Well, when the internal audit team is also the employee of an organization, then they have to administratively report to the management. Then sometimes they have to act as per the wishes of the management. In that case, will the internal control system be affected? Because the independence is hampered in this case.
So, okay, let me take a step back. I will conclude the independence is hampered if the internal audit team or the CAE is not having a one-on-one session with the audit committee. Do they have that? They have
at regular intervals.
They have, okay, every quarter they have these sessions, these meetings where they are invited to present their report, their findings, and any concern which they have. Further, they also present the audit calendar, the risk assessment. Sorry, risk assessment is in separately. Audit calendars. So they have good number of interactions. So if I am the CAE and my independence is being hampered or I am being influenced by the CXO, I have an opportunity to register my concern with the audit committee. Okay?
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Sir, in a completely ERP environment, how do you actually balance the transaction audit and in conducting the internal audit of that company? How do you balance the transaction audit and the systems and controls audit?
So that's where the risk assessment is very important.
Yeah, that's
So you have to assess the risk first. So when you say transactions,
yeah.
after ERP is put in place, you can do a lot of data analysis through ERP itself. You can put routines, okay, which will give you outliers.
Data
Analytics, which will give you outliers that, okay, this is my routine wherein the amount about 10,000 should be approved by this person and it has not been approved. So this is a list of outliers which have been processed. Now you will go and ask why the approval is not taken. So you can do those things. But again, going back to your question, what exactly should be done should be driven by your risk assessment. You need to understand the process, the risk, and then you should decide whether you want to have a one-off review on an yearly basis or you should have a continuous monitoring process like we discussed. You can have a mix of both, continuous monitoring as well as one-off activities. Depending on the risk. Say if you have revenue as a risk, high risk item, I will go for a continuous monitoring. And if you have ERP in place, your efforts will reduce if you can inbuild these routines in the system so that the system will throw you outliers. You can review those outliers and conclude whether you have issues or not based on those criteria. If it's a low risk item, you can decide, okay, I will do a one-off review. I will not spend that much manpower.
Sir,
Yeah.
if scope limits, for example, if the client has not given a full-fledged scope, then does that limit risk assessment?
Risk assessment. Scope is for internal audit.
Internal audit, but he covers only a certain area.
Okay.
So does that limits the risk assessment criteria?
I will look at it this way. If the scope is at a very high level, it actually broadens the scope for me. It's not detailed, it means what?
It's only limited. For example, example, it's a limited review. It's only a transactional audit. The client doesn't allow system audits.
Okay.
So that will limit the risk assessment.
So, okay, let me understand this by way of an example. I have to do the review of payroll processing. Okay, and there are three systems in place. One system for tracking leaves, one system for tracking attendance, and one system for payroll processing. Okay, the process which have been asked to be reviewed is payroll processing. They have three systems: leave, attendance, payroll processing. However, the client is not allowing me to review the system. Correct? That's what
he's
he's saying.
giving the exception to trial error, so data analytics cannot be performed.
In the scope, which will be part of your report, mention that we have reviewed the reports generated from the system. We have not reviewed the controls around IDVC or IDAC of the system. That will be part of, you can put a separate para as scope limitation.
That would be a limitation to the
Yes. Okay, but there are instances.
Hamper my risk assessment, I say.
Why are you saying it hampers the risk assessment?
Because there might be flaw in segregation of duty, I say, or flaw in user ID wise putting entries in payroll system, which I am not able to identify because it's generated only from a report.
What if they have another review done for these applications or processes or systems then?
That surely I don't have it.
So understand why or how exactly this audit universe is derived at. You do your risk assessments and then you say these are the audits which I need to do in this quarter or once a year, once in 2 years or once in 3 years, or these are the areas which I need to review through continuous monitoring. Now payroll I can divide into two systems, payroll system and payroll processing. Payroll system is given to a person who is expert in IT, say an engineer, or who has done relevant courses, and the other portion is given to you. In that case, your scope is very specific. You have to review payroll processing, excluding the system. If they don't mention that, then it is your responsibility to highlight that in the scope, in the report.
This scenario comes in when it is third party assessment. Payroll processing is
When it's outsourced. Then you should ask for that software report. Subcontractor report, or if they don't have it, then say this is a concern, scope limitation, or allow us to visit the vendor's premises.
So, actually, after let's say the internal auditor discusses with the audit committee, they have serious issues, but how will the audit committee respond to it? In the sense, management is preventing the audit committee from, let's say, correcting it or reporting it. Is there any external source where they can
Management is preventive. I thought audit committee is senior to the management.
No, that's true, but how do they deal with it later on? Like if they find out and they are not able to correct it, then what is the next course available to them?
Okay, so you are saying that there is an observation which is noted and it is not remediated in a timely manner.
Correct.
It's not remediated in time. Then the risk will continue.
And then what does the audit committee, what options does the audit committee have? Because management is like, let's say the CEO, the managing director has the ultimate power. So he can stop if he knows that there's something wrong going on with his concurrence, let us say, if he is involved. In that case, what option does the audit committee have?
Are you sure there's a fraud?
No, I'm just telling
No.
you. There is an internal weakness.
That's where it will boil down.
Correct.
And there are a lot of responsibilities on auditors when they think or when they conclude that there's a fraud.
Yes.
They are responsibilities, right?
Yes. But here, I'll just explain a little bit. So, like, let's say this is a one-on-one session. Does it get recorded in the minutes of the audit committee meetings? If not, then how the auditor will come, the external auditor will come in?
Well, one-on-one sessions are captured, and these reports are part of the...
Yeah, we get a report. Let's say if we have the statutory...
So all the reports will have a resolution plan, remediation plan, management action, and by when it should be remediated. If it is not getting remediated, okay, then it's a concern. Second, audit committee also insists on the remediation status of previous observations. Okay, if they have these controls, then and we presume that they are taking care of these. If these controls are not present, then we have a design issue.
So only a statutory auditor can go through the report and see if
Even internal auditors can go through. So you can pick a review of say compliance requirements or say control environment, your entry level controls review. You can pick an area like that, put it in the scope and review it. So I think that's all for questions, right? Okay, thanks. I understand that this was very heavy on theory, but I appreciate your patience. I hope this was useful to you. You should be able to use it in your professional work, and I hope you get some good results. Thank you.